Hey guys, I'm Tahir Khan, and in this video, we will be building an automation that inputs a targeting report and analyzes it, crunches the data in there, runs it through our automation through our GPT prompt, and provides actionable insights that you can take and make modifications to your ad campaigns that are currently running. If you look at the notes column, it tells you exactly what you should do. It scores it and it classifies it. There are four different classifications: smart target, hidden gems, bleeders, and cleanup that I've come up with. You don't necessarily have to do that. Bleeders are of course keywords or product targeting that is bleeding money. You're spending more and getting fewer conversions. Likewise, hidden gems are where your ad spend is low, but you're converting more. Smart target is where the ACoS is generally around target ACoS and prime target for optimization, and cleanup is anything that is not working. You're getting impressions, you're spending money, but it's not converting. So those are cleanup. And as you can see, this is the input data. Now we have a ton of actual real-time data in our database that I could possibly use, but that belongs to our customers. And I I'm anal about not making my customer data public. So I generated 500 rows, and if you look at all the keywords, these are all very generic. Uh, I generated 500 rows to use in this automation, and I know for a fact that the targeting report that has more than 70 columns, and these columns do exist in the targeting report. So what you'll do to use this automation is go to Ads Console, download the report, and then filter the CSV and just input these columns. You may feel free to, if you're up to it, feel free to add keyword bid into the analysis. I know that it's a column that is provided by the targeting report, but you'll have to make modifications to the code and the prompt. So this is what the output looks like. Let me share with you what the actual automation looks like. Now, this is the automation that we will be building. I'm actually in the previous video, I built this automation completely. I forgot to hit the record button. And anyways, this is what the automation looks like, the final automation. And I'll explain the automation before we get started. We ingest the Google Sheets, the data from Google Sheets. I have a limit node here because I don't want to spend all my tokens processing the file. You may not want to use it, or if you want to make the effect of the limit node irrelevant to the automation, what you can do is count the number of rows you have in your Google Sheets and change this number to the same number. For instance, yeah, I'm using 500 rows as the input data. If I change it to 500, this limit node becomes irrelevant, or you can just delete it from the automation. The next thing, I'm using a split batch. What I'm doing is batching 10 requests per looping that I'm making to GPT. Remember, that's a lot of data that it has to crunch. So I really strongly suggest that you don't use a batch size anything over 10. And so we split up, we loop over all the 500 rows. Once it is done, we hook up our further processing on the done node. So once it is done, the execution will start from this point and it will carry on. So this is the automation that we will be building, and let's go and build the automation. So the first thing I'm going to do is, of course, ingest my data. And for this, we want to get rows from our sample file, and we want to use this worksheet in there. Although Anadin does a good job of locating the data, I always specify the range. So the next thing what we will be doing is bringing in the limit node. Hopefully you guys can still see it. I'm going to keep it to 10. All right, next thing I want to do is split up the batch into 10 rows that we send to GPT. And what we need to do is use a split batch here. Like I suggested, don't use anything more than 10 rows. So what we'll do is input this here and loop over. We will be deleting this node. If I can select this. Bring in the OpenAI agent and we want to message the model. Here we will be setting up our access. And we tested it and so it works fine. It's ready for prime time. And here I'm going to input the prompt that we will be using. So we are done with our setup. So we will loop here until we are done. So we have about 500 rows to process and we will be looping over it. Why is it red? Okay, I do have to choose a model. Okay, so now it's good. The next thing we want to do is process the data that comes out of GPT, flatten it so we can consume it and do interesting things with it. So what you have observed, I hope you have observed that this node was split up into two different paths because we're writing data to the same sheet, but in the same Google Sheets, but to different sheets. The detailed data is written to the results sheet, and the summary data is written to the metrics sheet. So this output will be split up into two different paths. And the first thing we will do is build the summary path. Let me copy and paste my code in here. And we want to run once for each item because we are looping over it. Let's call it format for summary. No. What we want to do is hook it up here. And then we'll add another code node so that we can reference the fields and be able to manually map each column in Google Sheets. For that, I'm going to copy and paste my summary code, which aggregates all the data for the metrics worksheet and also flattens the data so we can reference it when we bring in the Google Sheets node. Okay, if you look at this, what we are doing we will be writing a metric column and a value column. Remember, the casing is very important, so keep that in mind. The casing is very important when we map the data, and we want to append data this time. And why am I appending data? Because I don't have an identifier in my data. So you can either write update or append row in Google Sheets, provided you have a unique identifier. And in the data that I'm ingesting, I don't have a unique identifier. So I'm just going to append rows blindly. So this time I want to write to the metrics column, and we have to map this. Feel free to skip this part if you know how to map. Okay, we are done with this part of the processing, the summary part. Now let's work on the detail part. For that, we bring in a code node. What this will do is flatten the data so we can map it. And we run once for each item because it's a loop. Okay, come on. And here we will we will bring our sheets back in again. Pin row in sheet. Select the correct account, the correct file, but this time we will be writing to the results column. Now again mapping. I hate this part of N and N. So I'm gonna copy paste and make changes. Don't forget to input the equal sign if you want your automation to work. Also, very important, make sure that you're using the correct casing. If not, this is not going to work. Okay, I think we are good here. Now let's run the automation and see if this works. You'll see that it spends a couple of minutes, maybe more, making calls to OpenAI. And that's the only part of the automation that takes time. And when you run 500 or 1,000 rows through it, then you really, really need to split it up in batches. So you don't just, so if you don't do that, you'll kick out the automation today and probably the data will be ready by tomorrow. Don't do that. Split it up into batch sizes, and fingers crossed, it worked. Okay, all right, we are in business. So that's about it for this automation. Hope you guys liked it, enjoyed it, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. We have a ton of automations in our automation vault. For $49 a month, I think it's a steal. Also, this automation, we will be using this automation to build up on the next automation that I'm planning on doing next week, which will be trend analysis. How, if you go in and make the modifications based on the recommendations to your ads campaign, how it is trending. Is the ACoS going in the right direction? Is the ROAS in the right direction? Or is my spend decreasing? Are my conversions increasing? So all that analysis will be built upon this automation. Like always, like and subscribe and follow us for more e-commerce automations that no one is doing. We are the only ones that I think, and I may be wrong, that we offer this kind of insight into using AI for really, really making your e-commerce, managing your e-commerce business a little easier. Thank you and stay tuned, like and subscribe. Any questions, problems, drop in a comment. I will be glad to help and answer any questions.